Hello, everybody. I think we are live. We are live,
No.
and we finally made it. I have now with us in this next transmission from Star West 2023 our friend Kyle Siemens.
Oh, señor.
Mucho
Señor
importante. Yeah. Pull your mic a little bit towards you.
Okay.
Twist
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Straight
good.
to the chest, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be just like you can.
Yeah.
Because
In case I get bored.
it's the second person of the day. They are near by where we were sitting, and I'm super happy to have him. He's a very good friend. We have fun all the conferences because we walk into each other lots of times, several times.
And we're even going to a water park. You know, if you're in Florida, I almost said California.
What
Where am I?
Orlando.
Orlando. Yeah, we're somewhere on this
worried for a
continent.
second.
I don't
Wait,
know.
where-
We arrived last night at midnight from Germany.
So everybody, yeah, you can tell we can go right away into goofing out and being ourselves.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, it's especially with the camera, it makes you a little bit more. Hello.
Especially with a bright colored microphone in your face.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like a clown nose.
Okay, so seriously, Kyle Siemens, very good amigo from Brightest. He's the big kahuna there. It's master or meister, bureau meister.
Sure, yeah, clean the floors, do the toilets. Why not? All that stuff.
All the necessary over there at Brightest in Berlin.
Mhm.
And we already have a representative, Maria. Did I say it right?
Maria,
Okay.
yeah, Maria.
Yeah, because I got like you're pronouncing it in Spanish. It's Portuguese. It's different. I can barely tell the difference, but I think I did well. And but there were some questions that I thought it's going to be very interesting to find out about. Well, what's the deal with Brightest, the story, how it all started,
Mhm.
and so to boost up a little bit more the importance of certifications and why did you think that would be interesting, important to do,
Okay.
try to improve the world, and but very curious, how did the Brightest happen, how it came to be?
So I guess one of the exciting things, it was never planned, at least not in my head. So it kind of just came to be. So we were, I was working in the field, and then I started getting contacted by some boards that wanted to collaborate with a new provider. And so after a few times of considering yes or no, or if I'm willing to do that, decided to move ahead with it. And came up with a name. We wanted to have something that was very easy to remember, easy to say. And actually, we were created to support the Spanish-speaking market in the first step, and not like we are today, the global market. I guess you start somewhere, which is a big market, the Spanish speakers of the world. And now we're supporting, I think currently we have exams online in 10 different languages, not
10.
everything. But yeah, we just got a new exam today, launched in Japanese. That was fun. So we're learning new stuff and getting used to seeing fancy characters, and but of course we're unable to really check those. We have to go through with experts who have done the translation, and making sure that it all makes sense. But it's a fun process. So what actually we aim to do is to make the process as comfortable as possible. I mean, many people don't. There's few people in the world who like to take an exam or the thrill of taking an exam. But I think we tried to make it at least as smooth as possible, working with the market leaders for the software, and also really friendly people. You've met someone earlier today, Maria. And
Very friendly.
And we just try and support as much as possible to make sure that it can go as smooth as possible. I mean, of course, online exams, a hiccup from time, considering how many people can have combinations of all sorts of programs on their computers. But of course, we're always trying to find solutions, even in the rare case that something does go awry, so that no one's left alone. And yeah, it's really fun being at these conferences to also find out why people get certified. So, I mean, I can say why I think people should get certified, but when people actually come to the stand, I like to, and they usually ask, oh, well, why should I get certified? Or what's good about this certification? It's like, well, do you want to be certified? And it's interesting then to get the responses back, because then they actually have to think. And to tell anyone why they should do something. It's up to them to make the decision if it's valuable to them. And there may be a very different reason for every person. So someone might be self-learning and they just want to have some way of closing it off at the end of their learning, or they're unfortunately some are just taking it because their boss told them they have to take it. Motivation is there slightly different. I mean, hopefully people are also doing it more to learn, and it's like just a confirmation of their knowledge on a certain subject matter. So this is actually what we're mainly focusing on. And when we're doing our promotions and when we're advertising, we're saying, okay, it's all about the learning aspect, and it's a confirmation that you've learned something. Now, will it necessarily make you a better tester? Potentially. I mean, it's the whole point. Learning will make you better. If you can pass an exam, that's a good
Definitely
direction.
an advantage.
It shows that you maybe have the knowledge, but if you're taking something like ISTQB foundation level, I like to think it's more about the language. So you're not going to screw up working with an international team if you're doing A/B testing and they think you're doing something completely different, because at least you have like a shared
A common language.
A common language, which even if it's different languages, because that's why it's international. But A/B testing means A/B testing, at least with what the definition is. And so this is what makes it actually important and relevant to the community.
It's there are so many questions pop in my head out of because you just threw out a lot there. First, you mentioned that Brightest started first with helping international Spanish language. Why first Spanish?
Why not? No, no. I knew a lot of people in the Spanish-speaking community, and so we started working with. We were first founded by the Spanish-speaking board for Spain, the SSTQB, Spanish Software Testing Qualifications Board. So originally, actually, Brightest was owned 100% by the Spanish board, and I was an employed CEO. Because it actually never was my goal to own and run a company. And so they had to kind of convince me in a roundabout way. I didn't really know what they were doing. And they said, yeah, sure, I can run it and organize, and it would be wonderful. Because it was never my goal to run a company. But then, it just kind of piece by piece, they said, okay, well, we're a nonprofit board. We're not looking to make profits. We wanted to have a partner that we trust. And so they threw it out there. And then now we are collaborators with them, but they don't have, they don't make any demands. They don't own any part of the company. So it makes it also beneficial that we can make quick decisions to change, adjust, and continuously adapt to this, what's required of us from our partners, from the customers. And it makes it a lot more fun to be able to go with the flow, I guess, especially when we had Corona.
Oh, that must have been interesting, right?
I think every market got a different effect from this. But from our summit, the exams immediately stopped. There were big boards like the ISTQB, which didn't allow remote proctored exams before Corona. So of course, that stopped immediately because there was no way to do them without having them in a group or going somewhere physically. And so we pivoted, and we also, we knew that we worked together to also convince ISTQB, hey, we need this, and explaining it. And so we got also with a group of people, the remote proctors enabled, but also on the side, we are creating new certifications, our United portfolio. And it's basically an augmentation of the knowledge that we have from the ISTQB. So it's going more into like a hands-on approach to things. So building a theoretical knowledge of the ISTQB. So for the performance testing, for example, or for there's about 12 different ones at the moment, everything from AI to cloud testing. We're also moving into the development field now, which is exciting. So complete new markets.
And just give me a second. How are our audio levels, Sonia? Check the audio levels. Just I'm getting some ping. Hopefully, I don't know if you're not being heard or we broke anything.
I've been muted.
It's awesome when that happens like live. Can you hear me well?
Testing.
We're good, both?
All right.
Okay. So hopefully we're not muted, right? I don't think so. Okay, all good. Just in case, if you need as well. This happens. We need.
Yeah,
I'm thankful that now I can fix things and I have some help on that. It's in what you were saying as well. It's very interesting that you mentioned going with the new trends, that you can come here and figure out what's coming, what new things should you come up with. because many certifications were cool like 5, 10 years ago, or things that why are you still chasing that, right? And I mean, it's cool if you want to polish that knowledge, but probably nowadays in the modern times it's not that much needed. But you mentioned as well to set up like the technology needed and what are the environments or the programs needed, and that got me really curious. How do you deal with that? Do you kind of get like a virtual machine for the exam, or
So the exams currently are all multiple choice.
uh-huh?
So it's not you're not able to code in a virtual machine or
Mm.
anything like that at the moment. This is something maybe for the future,
Ooh.
but at
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert! I never know either where it's going until it's there. But we'll keep you posted if you follow us on LinkedIn. No, joking. But yeah, it's kind of just hearing the topics and talking to people who come to the stand, finding out what they're interested in, trying to get a consensus of what makes sense. Also speaking to the speakers, speaking to the exhibitors. So it makes a huge difference when you can come to these type of events live and actually have conversations. Because yeah, online events are great. We had a lot of them in Corona time. I think we're also excited to say hi and share some
But
a
definitely it's
drink
not the
or
same.
food. Yeah, it's different to talk and actually have a proper conversation live, or go to a water park if you happen to be in Florida on
More details to
Saturday.
come in a moment.
Watch out for pictures. No, so this is what makes it exciting, because you can find out so much. You can discover things. You can come up with new concepts. Actually, just today we are sitting and discussing our Selenium certification that we have, that's been around since 2019. And of course, there's always like little minor updates coming along. And we know that Selenium 4.0, and we've adapted everything to that. But we're just trying to see, okay, but not only what changed to Selenium 4.0, but what parts in there now need to be in more focus. And of course, we realize, okay, maybe we should shift a few things around. So even though the course itself is valid for Selenium 4.0, there might be a different focus now, or things that were very relevant before maybe don't need as much focus as they did in the past. So it's not necessarily just about the topic itself, but also how it's shown, and how, especially if it's a hands-on certification, what you need to focus on. I'm not talking about the course here. What you need to focus on to get that point across, because it's always still a starting off point. You're not going to become an expert by taking a course. You're going to get the ground knowledge. You're going to get hopefully a push, get the first feeling of doing it, and then you can actually go and install it into your daily work, play around with it, make it work for you, because it's going to work differently for everyone.
Yeah.
So we can't say this is the one way to do it. Don't ever do it that way, because there'll be 50 people doing it the other way and getting a great use out of the products. So there's going to be best practices, but it also has to be you figuring it out for
Flexible
yourself.
enough so that people, because many people ask for best practice. What is the recipe? Like almighty, and no, several testing processes, organizations. We are all special, different, and unique, and snowflakes organizations. We got to adapt to those things, and would be dangerous to kind of like corner everything. And yeah, you may have problems. That's awesome that you take that into account with the certifications, and that you keep evolving them. That also, because yeah, Selenium, Cypress, we with K6, every time we're getting new stuff, new things. And when you said some things that were cool in the same software or in the same practice 2 years ago are not anymore, or people are learning.
Or not as much of a challenge as it used to be. Maybe the tool has changed, that it automated something, or something had to be extra done, or there was an extra product that needed to be used to get the best out of something, which maybe is not needed anymore. So it's all very interesting, and trying to remain vendor neutral, but also, I mean, if you're doing a Selenium course, you're going to have Selenium in it, but if as much as possible to not say, okay, you must use this tool in combination with that tool for the best result, or whatever. So it makes it also very interesting in that aspect as well. And also just the language, because I mean, best practice, I mean, everyone's still asking best practice, but most people are saying there is no best practice. It's good practices now, or better practices now. Better than what? I don't know. But it's interesting to just see these little minute knowledge things where people are actually saying, no, they're no longer best practices. There's good practices. Or
That's a very good point, because I do agree with that. I have been a proponent, like mostly stop doing bad practices. Those, we know what is a bad
bad
practice.
stuff is usually bad.
It's easy to pinpoint, but what is exactly the best thing You just twisted my perspective, because often I get the question, what would be the best practice? What is the way that I have? And I always say, like, it depends, and all those type of answers. But I should turn it around, like, no, what you should not be doing is this. Just avoid that, and figure out everything else. Probably you'll be good. And that's I'm just having an epiphany. If you
Well,
see me good.
well, that's kind of what's the like the emails we get. So we have our info at email where we get all sorts of questions, which is great. Keep them coming. But some of them really get us thinking. Like people like just who write to us and say, like, I'm looking for a job in testing. What is
Where
the
should I
best
begin?
or certification to take? It's like, okay, first of all, I don't know if I'm qualified to tell you what's the best to take because I don't know what job you're going for. I don't know where you are, what you're
What do you
studying, what you're doing,
like?
who
What
are you, where are you going. Like it just you can. There's no standard best path. So you can say, well, here's the ones that might be of potential. Go read the syllabi, decide which one you want to dive deeper into. You can prepare yourself. You can work with one of the training providers we work with. You can
It's
just challenge the exam.
because it can be changing. And I know some people, I just need a job. Okay, look what is getting the most job offers. But that was true 2 years ago, and nowadays probably it's a totally different thing. And things keep changing as time passes, person to person, location to location, language to language as well. There are many differences, and it's great that you have all the syllabus available for people to check. And
Yeah, it's all online. You can go to our website, scroll down to the bottom. We got to find a better place to put it under resources. You also, if you go into any of the certification parts, there's also a link to the resources. But once you get to the resources, you can filter through them, take whatever you want. There's in different languages and different tools, whatever we have available. And if there's something that's missing, or if you notice there's something in your language or that's missing in your language potentially, I mean, you can always reach out to us. There might be a possibility we can make
request.
it possible. Or we know someone who might be able to offer a course in that language, even if we don't yet have the exam. There are many new languages that we're starting with that we didn't anticipate offering. So everything's possible.
It's and you were mentioning earlier that situation with the languages, and got me thinking. Spanish speaker at K6, sometimes I get requests like, hey, could you help us with this translation into Spanish of the documentation, blog, whatever. And there are times where I'm like, man, I have never heard this term in Spanish. I have no idea how someone would say an endpoint. And punto final sounds weird. It doesn't feel well. And I'm like, what should I do? What do you do with those weird terms in the translations?
So there's always going to be some words if they are not yet really established. I mean, cloud is also a fun one. In Spanish, I think they use the nube.
In Spain.
In Spain.
But in Latin America, it's el Amazon cloud.
I mean, yes, of course. And this guys regionally, it's going to be always different. And we hit that with French, translating like the DevOps syllabus. You get two things all of a sudden, cloud, and you're like, okay. Technically, some would say we would say cloud, and of course, just the difference between French-speaking Canada and France and Northern Africa and other places where French is spoken. I mean, it's always quite different depending on the usage and how well established it is in that region. They might sometimes start off with the English and then switch. It becomes French or in some other way, or it goes directly into French. And every language is different. To have this with the ISTQB, they originally, so the Hispanic American board works together with the Spanish board for the translation of the syllabi, and originally they tried to see, can they have different Spanish syllabi or glossaries for Hispanic speaking countries, but they realized it was impossible to get a Hispanic Hispanic vocabulary list because it would be, okay, Colombia says this, Peru says that, Argentina says this, Mexico says that, Guatemala wants that, and it was just getting a little bit wild, so they couldn't find a common thread, so they decided, okay, unfortunately for our terms, it will be in the Castellano Spanish, but it doesn't mean, and this is where it's important, so you can say yes, that at some point it has to be standardized. And so they have there's the Spanish glossary. Once you go into your work, if you're using testing or tester, it's in Spanish instead of what is
El
it?
probador. And
Probador,
sounds super
pruebas.
weird, probador.
Because it's like you're trying a cologne or something, right? If you're like, oh yeah, probador. But
Well, because probador is a dressing room in
okay.
Spanish. And that also is like, I don't think I don't want to be I don't want that title. And it's interesting because I when I started all the Señor Performo and Perfects, and I was starting to do content in Spanish, I was like, okay, it has been performance testing for me all my professional performer life. Hey, Latin America, how do you call it? Is it desempeño or performance? And voting, some people, some countries, even I saw the difference, and almost 70% said performance. That's what I heard, and desempeño feels weird. Got it. But in Mexico, we say el performance, and Argentina and Uruguay is la performance. And I'm like, oh man, I'm doing my best to kind of get to a like common ground, and it's like words are free and okay. In my efforts with the documentation currently is like I'm call it whatever I can, doing whatever makes more sense to me. Punto final instead of endpoint, but after that parentheses endpoint.
Endpoint, yeah.
You have the common English, and I don't know how much you have faced that, and I think I know the answer. Even office wise, you end up working in English most of the time. But even if the project is in Mexico, even if we are all Mexican, we may end up having customers in the U.S. or international. And if they speak French and we Spanish and we don't have common language is English.
I think Mexico might be a little bit, they have a big border to the US, might be a little bit more likely to choose maybe
Believe it or not,
English term.
Some Argentinian projects, people in Argentina, I remember, and Uruguay as well, they were telling me, we all are Argentinian or Uruguayan or in the team, but our customer is some in
Sure.
the US, some in Canada, some in Europe, and not the European countries that speak Spanish. So we have to all go to English, even as if it's a local job, a local opportunity.
Yeah.
I think you do the same in Brightest. I remember, what language do you speak at the office?
Well, our main office language is English. So we're, I mean,
Even as they are in Berlin.
there we have some people who are not speaking German.
He's winking.
Which is completely fine. I mean, we have so many languages that we're
In
speaking on a
Berlin,
regular basis.
you don't need the German. That's
Well, I think you don't need it. Well, it depends.
I went to practice there, and no one wants to reply in German to me.
You might have asked someone who didn't speak German. But so we all speak English to each other also because it's kind of rude if someone doesn't understand or whatever. But it doesn't mean people don't have conversations in all sorts of languages in our office. And it's kind of fun to hear people having conversations in Arabic and Italian and Portuguese and Spanish and French. And I'm just like, oh, no, you kind of get used to hearing it. And the first time you hear a language, I mean, it sometimes just sounds like a completely wild. But then after you hear it for a while, even if you don't know the language, you start to get a feeling of like, okay, at least we're words. And they're like, okay, this sounds like that. And I mean, it makes it interesting to
super
hear.
Fun, and believe me, I've seen it. I've been there. It's really it's an awesome feeling because you have a mix here, and a corner it gets to one language. Italian, I remember. What's her name? Valeria.
Valeria. Yeah.
She was starting a little bit. I think she was speaking by phone, and then Javier picked up something Spanish, and then there's German at the corner, and it's like. I'm like, I like this place. It's very
Shana with Vietnamese.
Yeah. Wait,
Russian.
What? Oh yeah, you're right.
We got all sorts of things.
and I mean that is an awesome effort, and it feels very close to me because Perfect's Espanol. That's what I'm trying to do. Bring everything close to our friends that cannot or are not good enough at English, so that they need some translation, some help. Doing our best, and it sounds like even as you were just in the crossfire to becoming a CEO, and what? No, I'm a boss now, okay. But now you are putting like your heart on it and trying to make the world better, help kumbaya and world peace and
As
all
much
that.
as
But it's
possible. I don't know if certifications are bringing world peace, but
I
at least we're
hope they
trying to
do.
make it have fun. And I'm hoping that people who are getting the certifications get benefit from it. I mean, it would suck if it's just a paper, because they could. There would be some people who are like, oh, it's just a paper. I needed to have it because my boss wanted me to have it, and so that's it. But we're hoping to make that less and less the focus, because we do want people to learn and to have something with that certification.
I do think, and it's funny because I at times I have had mixed feelings about certifications. But when you said my boss is making me,
Yeah, it's
it
not a
reminds me
nice
when I
reason,
was
is
in
it?
college and like in high school. My parents make me come. I'm like here because it's part of the schedule, right?
Mm.
But in the end, it's something that people learn. And I was telling earlier, like when I had been developing for a while, I had this requirement, like, hey, you gotta get certified. Okay, so and started to learn, like, hey, this improves, this gets better, this is giving me better opportunities, better even at my work. I became better because I learned new things, new ways to do things, and things that I thought were the correct ways. I was like, oh my god, I have been doing everything so wrong, and now I'm like rocket scientist ready to and I think that helps, even if people don't feel like it's improving the world. It is. I
And we have this all the time. I mean, there's it depends on the personality of everyone, but some people who want to like be told exactly what to do, how to do it, what to do it. It's like, oh well, this is what I mean. Those people are probably not working at Brightest, but most case. But we it's always a discovery path, because when people, especially when you're starting it, we don't want to tell you what to think, what to do. This is the 100% correct way. Yes, there's going to be stuff that's regulated. There are rules that do need to be followed, as we're an ISO certified certification body. But in general, I mean, if we were to say exactly everything, how you have to do it, these are all the processes, they cannot be changed. Yes, we have a list of processes, but it would basically stop us from having this improvement from a new vantage point. When someone starts to, actually, why are you doing this? And then I was like, oh yeah, that was stupid, wasn't it? We're wasting all this time doing this extra thing that does not need it. And so this is why we can continuously improve with. So we have, in general, and we have our list for what to do in certain situations, but we also are able to adapt them and change them and reflect on them on a regular basis and see, okay, we don't want to do processes for the sake of doing processes. We want processes that are useful for our needs. And this is what also makes it very interesting. So that's completely off the topic of certification, but just finding it in dealing with people and working, it's important, that I've been discovering as well.
and that's true for every environment. I mean, not only Brightest or being certified or getting at the office with the knowledge, or having a paper that says you have the knowledge or passed. You have enough knowledge to pass, because that's another one I learned earlier. And it's it's an interesting, because I remember there was this pressure when I was younger, like long ago, and you needed, oh my god, I'm not certified, I need to get this, I need to get that. And on those days the rage was the PMP and project manager. Wow, I got it, it helped me, but I never renewed it because I was like, I already have the knowledge. There are, the new PM book and all the new changes.
Yeah.
But once you have it, that have the understanding, unless the organization asks for it, it's like, I'm glad that I did it because I learned a lot. But eventually, yeah, I got requested for another different one eventually, and I most probably will get another request one day, and I'm happy to. But it's that flexibility, not to, because we used to call it the certification trap, that you are so adamant that you have to get it. Long ago, there was someone so adamant to get a COBOL certification,
Mm.
and we were like, why? And I think his father was a programmer, and my dad told me that's super important. But are they still around? Can you still get certified in that? And it's like, and yeah, there's a market that you most probably will get a job if you learn COBOL, because they're retiring. But it's very good that you're trying to help um, the people, the world. I do think that it makes an improvement,
Thank you.
and the attitude and the kindness on the team. I love the times that I have been near the Brightest office, uh, and well, now looking at the time, it's ramp down time. We should be like rolling up. But what would you say, people like? Should they get certified? Should they kind of? What should they do? And is it important? What do you think? What are your feelings? This is your 30 minutes of fame, or I don't know how to say that.
30
There's a
seconds of
phrase,
fame.
right?
Yeah, 30 seconds of fame or 10
Seconds.
seconds or however many seconds, usually not too many minutes. That would be a lot. Well, it gets to 15 minutes of fame, I think. Okay, anyway. But yeah, it is the challenging question that everyone gives to me, and that's when I throw back at them. I won't throw at you because it's not necessarily your question, but maybe the question that everyone's thinking in themselves. But the most important part is, why do you want to get certified? What personally for you would be the benefit? Does the certification cover what you want to know, what you need to know? Um, I think taking a certification because it would solely only maybe get you more money, that could be a challenge, or make you necessarily much better than uncertified colleagues. Maybe. I mean, it should be important to you. There will be some companies that make it mandatory as
You have
for your
to, and
application, or if you don't have it when you apply, they put you in the first course that are taking it. So that they're, and I think that's mainly the language thing, trying to make sure that there's not mistakes going on because people are speaking different language when it comes to like the faculty language. I'm thinking in German Fachsprache, but like the faculty language of software testing or whatever topic it is, so that you can at least avoid some of those errors because people know the topics that they're doing and discussing. So I think there is definitely a merit to being certified. There's a merit to having more people in your team certified, especially if you're in working in different parts of the world or different areas of the country or whatever, if you're working from home, which a lot of people are doing now. I think the corona, if it gave us one good thing, actually opened up the opportunities for people to work from home, or at least accept that it has to be possible, where there was maybe especially in certain countries, Germany was one of them, where it was always like, you come to the office and you're there, or else can't do the work at home. So there's going to be reasons, but you have to think, first of all, does it fit your criteria that you need?
Is it for you? And you touched the point that is very interesting. Does it make you happy? Does it fulfill you? Because
does it spark joy? Oh wait, that's probably copyrighted.
That's an interesting point, because when it's mandatory in organizations, well, you have to go through it. But if you don't feel that like you truly need to, and it's gonna be kind of like a hassle, or you made me think of college and high school, those classes that I hated, but you have to take them. And I'm like, why do I need to learn, I don't know, chemistry? And I don't care about the Romans in the ancient century, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, I'm like, I'm kind of sad that I didn't read the Odyssey and Homer and blah. And
but you still can. Things. You still can. And the most important thing, ignoring certifications, but you mentioned university, and I always think, because well, especially when we're looking for new people that we want to employ, as an employer myself, it's not I'm looking for people that studied certification. No. But what we look for is someone who has an interesting profile, who has something to offer that can give us a new perspective. And I think the higher level education when it comes to university, sure, there are things like medicine. You're going to have to study medicine to become a doctor. You're going to have to study law to become a lawyer. But if you're doing any other thing, I don't know many people in my life who are doing exactly what they studied and only focusing on that for their whole entire life. They might do it for a while, might switch it up and do something completely different. I actually studied mathematics and German literature.
Cool.
As a bachelor's,
a few things.
To the master's is teaching German as a foreign language. Was intentionally going to go back to Canada and become a professor in German, but then I had the realization, looking for a professor job of German in Canada. Yeah, there's a needle in a haystack. So
selling umbrellas in the desert or something like that.
So I mean, it just gives you the perspective of something different. And I think for most paths in the higher level education is critical thinking. So if you can get critical thinking going, don't know if certifications are going to be the most critical thinking acclaim supporting thing, but that's just something that I find important is that people have critical thinking skills. And this can also be very relevant for, do you want a certification? Why would you want it? I mean, really look at it and think, does it make sense for me before you go into it, or before you get your team to do it? And so we, of course, want to offer certifications that are relevant, that make sense, and we stand behind the products we have in our portfolio. Does that mean it fits absolutely everyone all the time? Definitely not. So definitely you're welcome to have a look at our profile, brightest.org. Have any questions, you can write to our team at info@brightest.org or me, Kyle@brightest.org, and I can try and help answer them. I can't promise I know everything because I definitely don't, but we'll try.
So there's the contact. He already went over my next question. There you can find Kyle, get any information on certifications. And before we close, quick question. Anything coming regarding ChatGPT? Oh, wow. That's a reaction.
Well, AI is very
There's
important.
an AI one, but
I think ChatGPT itself, I mean, currently the way we use it is a great tool. It's not going to replace the human brain.
No.
Let's go back to the critical thinking thing again.
I'm not concerned about that. I don't think we are anywhere near that ChatGPT replaces us, but we're going to be working with ChatGPT.
Definitely.
And I think we should start preparing for some sort of certification, because it seems like it's an interesting skill to know well what to ask ChatGPT.
And it changes also. I mean, there's going to be releasing new versions all the time. Now it's harder to make it hate you or say
It
horrible
came
things
out like
to you.
4 months ago, and it's already version 5, and it was 4 when it launched. And then, like, how fast is it going to be? Are we going to be version 20 by the end of the year? Like, this is going
I
to be
think the most
interesting.
important is that we still all view it as a tool.
It's a tool.
It's not going to
Don't be
take
worried.
over
I
the
don't
jobs.
think we're...
Or if you think it's going to take over your job, consider how you can work in some critical thinking. Make yourself more relevant, because it's probably more beneficial for you and your job. And so if it can completely replace you.
But there's an
Think
AI
about that.
certification if you're interested into understanding how ChatGPT works. And I think we should start checking into how to ask good questions to make ChatGPT really work for us.
We do
Don't be
have
afraid.
AI development certifications that we're finalizing right now with machine learning aspects. So you can keep in contact with us and find out more about that. It's not ChatGPT 101, but it's definitely
You'll
going
understand
into
the guts of it. Yeah, that's a principle.
Exactly. The background of it, that's the point. We're not studying ChatGPT. You could go work for ChatGPT if you want to know how that works. Maybe that
Don't work for it. That sounds enslaving the human. No. Okay. Well, thank you very much, amigo. Thank you for coming and sharing. Time flies. We were having so much fun. Stay tuned. I'm not sure if we will be able to do any other broadcast for today. We will do our best. But if not, we'll return tomorrow at pretty early, giving you the tour through the conference. Things are being assembled. We will have the breakfast. We will have the panels tomorrow. All the panels are going to be streamed. Stay tuned. Check for them, because we have stars like Chris Loader, Melissa Benua, Joanna Luffer. I always butcher her last name. Tariq King. Here, your amigo will be doing the performance testing panel, and many more things. Walkthroughs. You'll see the exposition center.
Yes, at the expo.
You will see some awesome, fun donuts. Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon, and love you all. Thank you, amigo.
Thanks.